This is the new 5th generation Kia Sportage, and we're going to tell you everything you need to know about this new SUV. And if you like the old Sportage, then right now on whatcar.com you can save more than £1,900 off its list price. Just click on the link and you can go straight to that deal. So let's talk about the styling of the Sportage first, and it's very different from before, isn't it? It's now got this design which is partly inspired by the new EV6, and if you want even more information on that new fully electric car, then you can watch our video by clicking on the link at the top of the screen there. So the Sportage now has these LED daytime running lights, an interesting headlight design here, and also these are adaptive headlights, so they can shift their patterns to avoid dazzling oncoming drivers. Also at the front of the new Sportage, you've got what Kia calls its Tiger Nose grille, and for the first time on a Sportage, you can get a black contrasting roof if you want one. And as for the alloys, you can get them in sizes up to 19 inches. The new Sportage is a little bit longer and wider than the previous car, but it's still a family SUV that's going to be up against cars like the Nissan Qashqai and the Skoda Karoq. But because it's quite a big family SUV, it's also going to be up against some cars from the class above, like the Peugeot 5008 and also the Mazda CX-5. And also this is the first Kia Sportage that's going to have a model specifically built for Europe. So there's going to be a long wheelbase version for South Korea and the US, but this shorter wheelbase version is the one that's going to be coming to Europe and the UK as well. And there are actually some big differences between those two versions.
For example, the European version is 85mm shorter than the global model, although it is still 30mm longer than the previous generation. And while the fronts might look the same, the side bodywork of the European model has been reworked to take account of its shorter dimensions. The back in particular has been significantly revised, losing the window which was built into the longer car. There's also a different rear bumper design, and European models in GT line trim will get a black contrasting roof. Under the metal, there's been changes between the two models as well. The suspension and the steering are altered for the European version too.
Inside the new Sportage, you get two 12.3-inch screens which are joined together on the dashboard here. So one is for the infotainment system and the other is for the digital driver display. And what's impressive is that every model that's coming to Europe is going to get this as standard. But I'm afraid to say in the US that some of the lower trim levels there are going to have smaller screens that won't look quite as impressive as here. Now the infotainment system itself, it's got a nice big screen, the icons are quite big and easy to hit as well, but it would just be simpler and easier to use while you're driving if you had some physical controls to help use it as well. Because down here you've got a touch panel, so these aren't physical controls, but they do help you jump between the different functions on the infotainment system. It's difficult to know if you're accurately hitting them while you're driving. So what that means is you're gonna have to take your eyes off the road to look that you're hitting in the right place. And what you can also do with these panel buttons down here is change what they control. So press the fan icon and this all becomes controls for the climate control, which is impressive and looks cool, but it just adds a layer of complication that you don't really want when you're going on the motorway at 70 miles an hour. Away from the infotainment, the driver display has got a nice big screen, again the same size as the infotainment, nice clear graphics, easy to see most of the time, but it might depend on where you have your steering wheel and your seat set up, because there might be a chance that it could be blocking some of the view of the driver display. But elsewhere in the Sportage interior, it does feel pretty good quality in here. So yes, there are a lot of plastics, but they're good quality plastics, and it's a bit of soft touch materials on top of the dashboard as well. You've got this gloss black finish on the center console. So really, compared to everything else in the class, like the Qashqai, the Tiguan, the Karoq, it does feel really impressive in here. Now, in terms of storage, under the center armrest, you've got a big cubby hole down here. You've got another tray with two cup holders. And at the top of the center console, you've got space to keep your phone, which is where you can also get wireless phone charging as well. So all in all, it's pretty good up here. Space in the back of the new Sportage is pretty good. The dimensions aren't drastically different from the old model, so that means that the space on offer is roughly on a par with the other practical rivals that this car's up against in the class. So I'm just under 6 foot, the driver's seat's in my driving position, and you can see that I've got a decent amount of legroom, and I can stretch out, especially under the front seat, because there's loads of room there. And headroom is also pretty good back here as well. So even with this sunroof fitted, I've got some clearance, and it means that it doesn't feel cramped at all back here really. And it's also quite a broad interior, so fitting 3 adults side by side should be pretty good. And on top of all that, you've got seats that recline, so you can adjust the angle of the backrest. Obviously you don't want to sit like this, but you can either put it back to relax, or you can push it forwards a bit if you want to increase the amount of room that you've got in the boot back there. Other things to point out in the back are these helpful USB ports in the back of the front seats. You've also got these coat hangers down here, I guess, and then even more places to hang your clothes. So overall, it's really good back here. The Sportage's boot can accommodate up to 591 litres of storage below the parcel shelf, which is 100 litres more than what the old Sportage offered. And it does mean that now the Sportage is one of the most practical family SUVs when it comes to boot space, because it's even bigger than the spacious Karoq. And then if you look at cars from the class above, like the Mazda CX-5, it's bigger than that as well. So it is definitely very impressive in this department. Plus you get a height adjustable boot floor, and on top of all that, you get 40-20-40 split folding rear seats as standard. So you can fold down the 3 rear seats individually.
The new Sportage will be available as a plug-in hybrid version, which gets a 1.6 litre petrol engine plus an electric motor that draws energy from a 13.8 kilowatt-hour battery pack. It will produce a combined 261 brake horsepower, and although Kia has yet to reveal exactly how far the plug-in hybrid model can travel on pure electric power alone, we'd expect it to manage at least 30 miles. There will also be a regular hybrid version, again with that 1.6 litre petrol engine and an electric motor for a combined output of 227 brake horsepower. Both of these engines are shared with what you get in the bigger Kia Sorento 2. Buyers can also have the 1.6 litre petrol engine on its own in the Sportage in either 148 brake horsepower or 178 brake horsepower forms, and each of those versions benefits from mild hybrid technology. There's also a 1.6 litre diesel engine available with 113 brake horsepower or 134 brake horsepower. Gearbox options are a 6-speed manual or 7-speed automatic. There won't be a fully electric version of the Sportage though. If you want an electric Kia roughly this size, then you'll be catered for by the EV6. And don't forget there's also the e-Niro and the Soul EV.
Pricing is yet to be announced by Kia, but it's likely that the new Sportage will start around the £25,000 mark when it goes on sale in the UK later this year. That's likely to be a slight increase on the old model, but still very competitive against its other rivals that are around today. But what do you think? Are you impressed with what you've seen so far with the new Sportage? Would you have this over a Nissan Qashqai? Tell us in the comments below. And if you've enjoyed this video, make sure you're subscribed to our channel to see our review of the Sportage as soon as we're able to drive it. And don't forget, go to whatcar.com for a great deal on your next car.